Clairaudience kicked in as soon as you started this. Okay. I don't know if I'll need these yet. We'll keep them on standby. Okay, this is huge, huge. You are an entertainer, a dancer is coming through here, but this is, I'm getting Streisand's song, I Wish I Were a Kid Again, from her album I'm 5. It's really old. I wish I were a kid again, doing what I did again, once more through the door, once more as before, a kid again. And she's wishing for this. That's the lyric in the song. This is what's coming through. There was some kind of thing that was supposed to be an entertainment trick that went awry. I think that you had people that were close to you die. This is a fire, and this is definitely, I got shades of mom dying in a fire, and I got shades of mom visiting here first. So I think this is something went wrong. I think your family was very much entertainment theater type people, but something went awry. I think this is when you grew up. I think you were very, very young. And I think you wish that you could get the childhood before the trauma back, but you couldn't. So this might be something that lingers over, where you may have had a difficult childhood in this life or in many of your lives after this one until you can clear it. There was a risk in doing this trick. There was a chemistry that was like a literal thing, that was a chemical thing that went wrong. It leads you to have this energy where you question whatever is told to you. You question people that are the grown-ups that don't know what they're doing. And throughout this particular lifetime, you don't trust the authority at all because of what has happened. This is saying witness and bystander trauma, and yeah, that was definitely there. The faith went by the wayside, and yeah, the mother was lost. So, okay. Throw these back in this way. Let's see what the cards have to say. Like, you guys traveled. You guys were traveling, and you would travel and be like traveling. I'm getting traveling Europe and seeing the different aristocracies, the different crowns here, there, and everywhere. You would see the different families of aristocracy and the crowns. And you would go through as travelers, as part of this tour to travel and impress the royals. Royals were impressed by weird things back then. Your dad became more stoic after this happened. This is the King of Cups, but he kept offering this, but he didn't want to be in the business. No kidding on that. And I don't know that it was his fault or just a circumstance that went awry, but he became more stoic. You saw the fruits of the labors and how that came through, and you didn't want to travel anymore. You wanted to be still. This comes through as dad. This comes through as you. You wanted to be still, just like, can we quit doing this gig? I want off this ride. You guys were like circus people of the time, is what it feels like. This is you much older. This is 5 years later, 5 years later. We've got the 5 here, we've got the 5 here. These are both the 5 of Cups. This is 5 years later, 5 years after the fire. You're still figuring it out. You might be about maybe 9 or 10-ish when this happened. So you would be maybe 14, 15, and still trying to figure out your way through. So for 5 years, even afterwards, you still worked and had trouble settling down. I think your touring slowed down, but not completely. You wanted something different. It took a little bit more than that. You're going to have to walk away from that life is what you chose to do. Why? Instead of running away towards the circus, you went away from the circus because you were kind of born into this circus type of entertainer type of family. And you ran away from this. At a certain point, you ran towards a different thing. It's like you crossed a river. People thought you died. No, you crossed. You went to work. You made your escape. Your escape was by water. It's like you came to this area, made your escape. People may have thought you died or drowned or whatever and kind of lost hope. That's okay. You went and found your way in the world in a different way. You also shifted how your appearance was. So you would have been like, have a lean build and a lean body because you were dancer. Metabolism probably would have been high, busy. But slender enough to pull off looking like a boy, chop the hair, go in disguise, go and learn a craft. It looks like exactly what you did. How long did you do that for? Quite some time. You did this probably until you were almost 19. So you, like from 14, 15, 16, you go into doing this, and then by the 19, I don't think you're able to have your lean build and your boyish look confuse people. You can't be in disguise so easily anymore, which is just fine, but it means you have to figure to find your way in the world a little bit differently. You leave this situation. You learned a craft, really, really good craft. It's almost like, it's not quite shoeing horses, but it's something like that. You learned how to forge things, to work with metal, work with your hands, work with sculpting, work with casting, like casting metal. Now what's going on here? At 19, she leaves. At 19, she goes. At 19, okay. All right. These cards are in my way. 1 second. At 19, you run into somebody you knew. It's like this one comes in as a friend from when you were in that area, in that vein of things. This would be someone almost similar to your age. This is a friend. This is a friend who's a girl. You run into her. She's somehow associated with the royals. She's not a royal. She's associated with the royals. She would have been around to see you perform. She would have recognized you and maybe said, good job on the show or something. You would have crossed paths on a couple of different occasions. I'm getting something like the name Cinda, Lucinda, Cinda. I'm not sure what that is. I don't even know that that's exactly her name. It's just the clue. It's Cinda. Don't know what that's about. Now this is showing her family had money. Her family had quite a bit of money. They were not royals, but they had quite a bit of money. And she was secure. It's like you're in this whole different town, in this whole different country, and she's probably there for educational purposes, but you run across her. Very interesting. You make a choice to travel together for a while. The Lover's card is coming up. This doesn't feel like that you guys were actually lovers yourselves, although you might have been. It feels like more that you guys live together, and it's not that I'm a prude about whether you would have or not. It just feels like the path of the devoted heart, she could see. You needed a shift. She could see you needed a shift. Why is this guy in here? Who's that? I'm getting she leaves you set up better than where you were when you first found her. You go from 9 of Wands to 3, but it's interesting because there's something that the cycle's complete. It's like for her, you represent a lot of freedom and a lot of free-spiritedness, and I think you play matchmaker for her. I think you set her up with whoever this is. Because you know different people, you know things from a different perspective from being undercover as a boy. You know, and I think you've set her up on a good path. I think you stopped the sabotage and sent her up with somebody that was foreign. Yeah. You play matchmaker for this friend. It's like if you have kindred spirit bestie soul sister, and you spend this period of time together, and then you see somebody that you know is 1,000% right for that person, but you're like, yeah, they might work out really good together, and she might not have never known, but you played Cupid there. Very interesting. And this is more like him. Very, very different, foreign, and you send them on their way. Huge celebration, except for her dad was not thrilled. Yeah. Again, shades of the matchmaker are coming. This took like about 7 months to pull this off together. I'm getting these interesting cards. I'll have Phil show you just so you can see, but this is what I'm getting from it. Definitely shades of the matchmaker. Dad not happy. And again, reaffirming you played matchmaker for about 7 months. I think you have natural matchmaking abilities. I don't know if you've done it recently, but I think you have the ability to see beneath people, see under the surface of folks, and to feel how certain people might get along well together or not. Yes, you definitely have this. You have this ability to pull off something that requires huge amount of strength. It's you pulling levers, pulling strings is a strong suit. And what you're pulling off here is kind of challenging. You see the lady and the lion. Will you flash this quickly? But you see the lady and the lion, and you have the ability to understand who has the strength and where they would be, how that kind of a combination would go. You definitely have that combination. Emperor energy. You definitely find your own path, make your own path, do your own thing in the world. Really, really a lot. Anything else from this deck? Second deck? You set yourself up pretty good. You set yourself up pretty good. She helps set you up pretty good. You spend time in a place where there's books, and I don't know if it's just libraries, but you have books, which in the time that this was, not a lot of people would have leather-bound books or access to them, but you would spend time in there, so you would know lots of stories, lots of people's stories. You had good listening skills. You observed, you heard all the stories around you from the time you were small in the circus family, so to call it. I don't know what to call it better, the entertainer family, to the time here, and you know stories. You know how stories unfold before they unfold. You have insight and wisdom in that way. You know how they unfold before they unfold. Yeah. Anything else? Oh, there's one person that was very studious, and you have him under scrutiny quite a bit. You look at things with him in the very same way. This is a later in life fellow. This is a good friend of yours. This is later in life. Many books have been stacked up. You're kind of a little bit of a nosy Parker, because you've gone where you're listening. You have your skills, your tools, you have your things that you have in this drawer. They're important to you, and how you do your craft is important to you too. I'm getting frames. There's a frame here, and this is partly what you're doing. What is this? How do you set things with a forge and a frame? I don't know. Price we're going here. I think you might do window work, like set window frames in, or use window frames a lot to be learning. I'm not sure what this is about. You have multiple skills in this life. It's kind of bizarre because you've had so many lives all crunched into one. Yeah, you can do window frames easy as you want. You can switch your profession as easy as some people switch clothes. You could be somebody that's doing window framing. You could be shoeing horses. You could be doing carpentry and carving desks, or carving the very frame for the window and doing intricate artwork on it if you want. You're very, very jack of all trades in this. You know how to do what you're doing. And the fact that you entertained and were a dancer gave you a good understanding of people, good understanding of the way to read the crowd, know your audience, know what you need to do for a period of time. You still like to travel quite a bit, but this person that comes in for scrutiny, he knows you more from these days of work. This is returning to something of your youth. The one things that you wouldn't do would be sit around doing needlework or embroidery or anything like that. No, no, no. You still had more active energy going forward. But you think, did you miss out on something because of this active energy? Did you play matchmaker for somebody else rather than pursuing your own heart? This is when you ask and you ask. No, you needed to learn. That was one of your hugest things. You needed to learn, and have multiple opportunities to learn different things, to be in different places. Your knowledge base and how you do this gets you pretty far. It gets you in different pavilions and sometimes in gardens. This is where you would set up trellises or garden art, not necessarily as the gardener, but setting up the trellis, setting up the pavilion, setting up the garden art that would be like fancy pants carvings along things, on columns and pillars as well. In order to pursue your profession, you might have had to try and disguise yourself a little bit more, but like I said, as you got older, it was trickier to do, but you still had the knowledge, you still had the craft. I'm getting shades of, you know, when Remington Steele was on? Like Remington Steele, Laura Holt was the detective, but she had to use the male name to get the business. You were able to do that, but you got the business for what you were doing for creating some of these pavilions and things. Choices to make, choices to make. You wonder if you were blind in your own creation and you weren't. You've led very, very well-rounded life, and you sit in your old age. You do have friends that are close friends. This wasn't one of the lives where you have you may have had lovers or friends and lovers, but there wasn't one specifically in the soulmate. It was more in the teacher-student energy and in the different teachers where you learned the different crafts. I mean, you have this guy, books. You have lots of books, lots of knowledge acquired. It's all about the acquisition of knowledge. And then sitting down and knowing that you would have a better lay of the land before you went through. Before you crossed over, before you died, you had a good lay of the land. You knew what had happened. You were pleased with it. I think you did have really good friends. They could have been even some of them lovers, but they didn't feel like, oh, this is a big romance. You were too busy for that. That's really an unusual thing. But you didn't mind setting it up for others. You could see sparks for that for others. Anything else? That's complete. You knew the lay of the land. You had the map. Everything that you learned in here. You probably lived about 3 different lifetimes of significance in this one lifetime. Gave you a huge understanding of the lay of the land. Yeah. Really, really Renaissance flavor all throughout. That's what I got. That's complete. Woo. Yeah. Holy smokes. Holy smokes, I say. This is Game of Thrones tarot, Slavic Legends tarot, romantic tarot, past lives cards, karma cards, and the 78 keys cards. 78 doors. Excuse me, cards. Yeah.
All right.
Wow. Hiccup, sorry.